So I've had a chance to play some more and gotten the character up to level 45. So let me go ahead and I'll give a quick walkthrough where we're at this point in character progression. So I will start with skills. Pretty quickly after level 25, 30, I was able to take this off the action bar and just go with my 2 core skills, 2 defensive skills, 1 conjuration, and unstable currents for my ultimate. So I still have another 15 skill points to get, which primarily be going into maxing out my frozen orb, chain lightning, lightning spear, and unstable currents, as well as maybe some defensive skills if I have a chance. I have the mana issue pretty much worked out, so I have a couple skills here that I could probably take 1 or 2 or 3 points out of and redistribute them to more offensive as I get moved closer and closer to eliminating the mana scarcity issue with the Sorceress. Pretty close already. Part of that's due to the chaos perks for the seasonal power, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But currently, as far as passes go, we have 3 into precision magic, which increase your lucky hit chance by 15%, 3 into protection. So every time we use a cooldown, we get 30% of lifeless barrier. 1 point into align the elements. This is a nice one. If you can get another point or 2 in here, just so that you can reach the next quicker, which is important in the late game. So if you can get a point or 2 here, just to help you deal with the elite and boss damage, building up this 60% damage reduction really gets hit at the end of the game. I don't think we quite need it yet, so we figure out the mana thing. This is another possible 20 points. 3 into primordial binding, so for each summon, we'll get 6% summon damage, movement speed, and 12% mana regeneration, and start getting into getting some uniques. There's also Fractured Winter Glass, which will add some points here, which will make this quite a nice buff, especially again with mana regeneration, will be huge towards the end of the game. And then Mana Shield, 30 times damage reduction for 5 seconds. Currently at the moment for Lightning Spear, we're using the Crackling Energy to increase the damage of the next Lightning Spear. Sometimes I'll start with this one, depending on the crowd control. This time around, going with straight to the Roaring Lightning Spear, we're going to be getting a lot of Crackling Energy, so that's really going to be a big buff over time for Chain Lightning. Currently using Destructive Chain Lightning, which gives a 30% chance every time you get a strike to form Crackling Energy. It's another source to spawn Crackling Energy. The bonuses that we use in addition to Static Discharge, which right now we've got 3 points in there, which gives a 18% lucky hits from Crackling Energy. Still pretty low, but with tempering later on, we're going to have a lot. Getting Crackling Energy just from Static Discharge is not going to be a problem. So once we get there, we'll be switching over to Greater Chain Lightning, which gives 10% increased damage after each time it bounces. So we're currently using Greater Frozen Orb, the upgrade, which will apply Vulnerable for 3 seconds. So right now, that's the main way we're applying Vulnerable. Later on, higher level items, lucky hit percentage to apply Vulnerable, so we'll probably switch to using that. And I may, in fact, I may take this skill point back and not do a second upgrade on Frozen Orb once I have that Vulnerable and Mana taken care of. It's nothing that says we have to use the point here, so we can do that to put it somewhere useful. Once we have that lucky hit Vulnerable with a high lucky hit chance, and getting Vulnerable all the time, no matter what. And again, once we have the mana figured out, we definitely need this 5 mana when I throw the enemy. For teleport, I'm using Shimmering Teleport, and even with our Crackling Energy that we're going to be using, probably will not use this. I think the damage reduction is more valuable than teleport dealing more damage, and we're going to, as I mentioned, we're just going to be having a ton of Crackling Energy later on in the game, so I probably won't use this. I don't use the Oculus, so teleport, the damage from teleport is not Something I'm primarily targeting with this build is moment. For ice armor, we're using shimmering ice armor, which will reduce its cooldown by 1 second per every 50 mana you spend. I'll show you using tempering, plus buffing the duration of ice armor, and eventually between cooldown reduction and increasing the duration of ice armor, we'll basically have this up all the time. It's possible we may be able to move this over here so we can get some extra chill and frozen enemy damage way later in the game. See? So again, as I mentioned already, 3 points in Static Discharge, and right now we've got 3 points in Invigorating Conduit. This, again, not to be overly repetitive, this is one way to early on helps with the mana crunch, but later on we'll probably be able to take those back and redistribute them somewhere else. So down here at the ultimate level, we're using Frigid Breeze, cold damage against vulnerable enemies up to a 20% chance to generate 15 mana. This will probably be the first mana related one that I'll take back. Add an item, Exo Conduit or what, to greatly increase our mana regeneration, because again, this one is only cold damage against a vulnerable enemy, and then it's a lucky hit, so this lucky hit has 20% chance, and if we look at our Frozen Orb, it has a lucky hit chance of 5%. It's pretty low, and at the start of the game, you really need every possible chance that you can get. It has a low lucky hit chance, but it hits a lot of enemies constantly, so you are proccing it more than you think. Now, but again, once you are generating a ton of mana per second, mostly from your items and some of your Paragon points, you've got better uses for these 3 points. Permafrost, you deal 18% increased damage with a frost scope on your action bar. 3 points in there because we have ice armor and of course frozen orb, so 18% as a nice bonus here. So down here for lightning, what we're going to do, we have 1 point in conduction and currently 1 point in convulsions. The main buff from convulsions is to pick up primarily is the periodically picking up nearby crackling energy. It's really nice to not have to run around, it just quickly zips over to you. And we'll probably add a couple of points here in the next couple of levels, especially when you take away some of the mana ones from Frigid Breeze, etc., both Invigorating Conduit, and we'll max out Electrocution and Convulsions, and don't know if I'll put much more in Conduction. If I max out movement speed, I'll probably switch over to 1 point in, of course, Currents, which is really like more of a one-hit wonder because how many opportunities we have to get a critical strike all over the screen. This is going to be next to irrelevant, but if we're already maxed out on the movement speed, then this is completely irrelevant. So start out, I'm going with Deer's Mastery. This is for the damage reduction primarily. I may also try out Overflowing Energy, as I mentioned in the introduction. And this is going to be because we're always going to have 3 skills with cooldowns that are shock skills, and we're going to be using a lot of Crackling Energy. So I will definitely be trying out both. It's possible, I might try Avalanche. But again, playing hardcore, the damage reduction is at a premium, so it's still kind of difficult to change off of Deer's Mastery. So for Mercenaries, we did level these up. So I go down the left side, Molotov, share a drink, mostly because I don't really do any damage over time, so it'd be kind of pointless to the other one. The extra potion is handy, especially early game. Then we have Explosive Charge, followed by Thrill Seeker, which might give us a little bit of extra cooldown reduction. So it doesn't necessarily add up to a ton with 22-second cooldown on the skill in general, but a little bit here and there adds up over time when you need it. And then for our reinforcement, push it over to Bastion, and I do that with ice armor, so I can usually, not always, but sometimes if I'm really needing it, I'm hitting ice armor. You could have other procs to it, like becoming injured or crowd control, but having experimented with these, they don't feel as reliable. I know typically when I'm getting in trouble, I'm hitting this, so this usually he comes in with the bubble, and then I avoid getting into trouble. So where we're at with the perks, still using Accelerating Chaos. Again, goes a little more cooldown reduction in terms of new ones. I'm using Erupting Chaos because I don't want to use a basic skill, and I don't want to decrease my maximum resource, at least at the moment. Probably never will, but who knows? Maybe my mana regeneration will be so insanely high, I might consider that later. But some of the other ones, for example, Mana Shield here, you're not really going to want to decrease your mana if we are going to consider using that. So the other one I'm using is alternating alteration. So casting a core skill empowers your next non-channel cast with different core skill, refunding 50% of its resource cost, increasing its damage by 48%. So really lucked out with the seasonal power with this build, using alternating between two core skills. So this is a really nice buff and does a huge amount of work towards fixing that issue. So far I have this, and then with the legendaries unlocked, and I'm not too interested in that, with not being able to heal above 50%. Potentially, if you're using this, maybe it doesn't really matter if your life is down 2 or whatever. I can take that 2 and get here. What I want to do. Now we'll run through the gear that I'm using. Helm, currently running with Helm of Concentration, gives 20% damage reduction for 5 seconds every time I cast Lightning Spear, which is pretty often between Unstable Currents, as well as I've been using the Lightning Spear enchantment to get even more Lightning Spear castings. So pretty much going to have that constantly until life and armor. At this point in the game, I do try to prioritize mana per second instead of life, just because it gives you such a small amount of life, especially if it's your second character, because through tempering, you can get over 100 life through the tempering, which is just going to blow away that 10 max second time you're going through. So generally, we'll try to prioritize mana per second. But in this case, I'll take life. If I need the armor to do that, you could do life with mana per second. The armor, this is what puts me to get to the 85% cap. So, if something else changes, then I get increased armor somewhere else, then I can change that over to mana per second. In terms of tempering for defensive skills, I am shooting for ice armor duration and lucky hit chance at this point in the game. A lot of stuff that is procced with lucky hit chance, particularly Crackling Energy being the main one at the moment that we're looking to proc that a lot at the moment. So that's why we're doing lucky hit chance here. There are uniques and other ways to increase our lucky hit chance that will not necessitate shooting for that temper on all of these. It's different for anyone that can take a utility temper. So here I've got total armor is the other defensive temper that I'm currently using to again make sure that I hit that 85% cap. Later on, when I've got more armor from other sources, again, if I stack more ice armor or other ice armor duration increasing or other tempers that are available once we level up a little bit more and find the manuals. For gloves, using smithing aspect right now because it's just what I got. See, the gloves are only level 25 themselves, so haven't necessarily been super lucky with glove drops or the offensive aspects. I don't have them all yet, so I will get them. I'll get them soon, and I'll probably have a different aspect here eventually. But for right now, it's nice. 14% increase or critical strike chance against injured enemies. And then while we're healthy, we'll get 27% increased crowd control duration. It's not what anyone wants to use long term, but right now it's what we got. So once we hit level 60 and spend some time farming them here, then this is going to look different. But again, for level 45, this is where we're at. On my pants, I was very glad to have just recently found the snow build aspect. This gives you unstoppable when you cast ice armor and gives you additional 25% damage reduction. So really buffs ice armor there. And I haven't tempered this one. I just found it. the aspect and put on the advanced one that I'll temper it and enchant it here in a second. So I can show you guys the approach for this point in the game for tempering and enchanting, which at this point is pretty tough to do a ton of enchanting because you don't have much gold first time through, and enchanting very quickly takes a lot of gold, and you're also leveling up relatively quickly, so the gear is going to be replaced with upgrades before too long anyway, so I may not get to try to enchant that dodge chance into something else, but we'll see how that goes. For boots, I already have another pair of boots, but again, I was trying to enchant some mana per second. Haven't got it yet, and it's now gotten to be prohibitively expensive, so I'll probably find a whole new pair of boots to use. But right now we're using Orange Herald, aspect of the Orange Herald, which gives a small chance to reduce our cooldown of our ultimate by a couple of seconds. I was shooting for lucky hit chance, the utility temper, but that didn't work out. A bit of a crowd control duration, which is still useful. I've used a lot of ice, so some extra movement speed, movement temper. For amulet, I'm using conceded aspect, which is additional damage, but we have a barrier, which stacks nicely with our snow veil aspect, making ice armor pretty good buff. Additionally, on our wand, we're using Storm Swell aspect, which again is buffing ice armor. So on the damage side, gives you additional 20% damage, as well as a further 15% against frozen enemies. So combine that with the barrier, ice armor, damage increase, and unstoppable damage reduction makes ice armor into a really very key and powerful spell. I will eventually consider buffing, getting defensive skill buff added on here to reduce the cooldown on teleport, the barrier on ice armor, and get up to 3, 4, maybe even 5 with your masterwork and 3 target to get triple hit on that. For rings, using frozen orbit aspect to increase frozen orb damage as well as give it a second explosion. As far as tempers, currently going for resource generation, critical strike damage. Usually we'll target flat damage first, and then kind of move on to critical or vulnerable. I prefer that buff, especially critical strike, a little bit later in the game, a little bit higher critical strike chance. But anyway, it works. Ended up kind with two critical strike damage buffs on this ring, so not super diversified on the damage front, but again, I have this replaced fairly soon. Second ring, aspect of splintering energy, so that's lightning spear at 60% damage. It will art 5 additional enemies, and it's giving you some good AoE from lightning spear. And it also increases base damage. I have it at 26%, which is pretty low level. I can get up to 40, so once we hit level 60 again, this will be one of the ones looking to get leveled up. Kind of targeting that one. For focus, just using aspect of the Unbroken Tether right now because that's what I have. Works with build, and something not necessarily a terrible aspect, but probably not one that I think is powerful enough to generally use long term. I have on my wand and focus. At the moment, I've got increased chance for lightning spear to deal double damage. Chance for frozen orb to cast twice is still pretty low. I haven't found the chain lightning manual yet, so I don't even have that available. But eventually, I'm thinking what I want to target is fractured winter glass. Hopefully, get a greater affix. Chance for frozen orb to cast twice. I think that's should be plenty of percentage to not really even have to worry about putting it on either of my weapon slots, letting me have lightning spear or chain lightning percentage on there. As far as the damage buff, I did find a rare lightning damage, so I did take a risk at that one to get the rare temper, which right now is significantly higher than the magic level temper manual. In this case, have the minimum crackling energy damage buff. I only got 1 roll left on this, so I probably won't even use it before I get this replaced anyway, but right now I currently have Intel, max resource, and Bitchan, so it's not necessarily an ideal focus by any means in terms of the affixes on it. but it works for now. I again have this replaced very soon, especially once we hit the 50s. The items start to become much more powerful. So that is it on the gear front. We talked about skills, we have mercenaries, chaos perks. That's where we're at for now, and do some gameplay now, and I'll come back and talk about strategy for how to start developing your character once you hit level 60.